What's up guys and welcome back to my channel. Now I know it's been a minute since my last upload, I do apologize. I've had a very chaotic schedule as of late, but I finally have some time to sit down and talk to you guys about my issue with the MVP award in sports and specifically in the NFL and NBA. But without further ado, let's jump into it with the NBA side of things, looking at a table that I showed off in my last video, and as you can see in green highlighted is every category that a player leads. In this table, we have 7 players who were in the MVP race last year, with the advanced stats all at the bottom half of the list. As you guys can tell by the table, Nikola Jokic leads all of the advanced stats aside from defensive rating, which for many people means that he should be the MVP. I'm a stat guy, so for me, I love these numbers. They obviously fit that narrative of numbers show who's the best player in the NBA, and therefore they should be the MVP. Now the problem with this though is that who's to say that these numbers are better than other numbers? We saw people argue for Steph Curry because he averaged 32 points per game, led the league in scoring, and still carried the Warriors to the 8th seed. So where do we draw the line between a player's stats and another impact that they have, which we'll look at now with Chris Paul? Looking at CP3's numbers, there's nothing that's really eye-popping. 16 points, 4 rebounds, 9 assists, nothing that's jumping off the page. When you look at his team success before he joined the Suns and after, this is where you can really see his impact. In the year before Chris joined the Suns were just 34 and 39 and were not a good team at all. But this year when he joined the Suns, he brought them to 51 and 21 and was one of the best teams in the league, including making this year's finals. Now, obviously, people argue that Chris should be MVP because look at what he did to transform the Suns. The problem with that argument though is that it doesn't take into account anything else. It doesn't take into account that Monty Williams was a top 3 coach and was a coach of the year candidate. It doesn't take into consideration the additions of guys like Jay Crowder, Torrey Craig, Cameron Payne. So although it does kind of show CP3's influence on the culture there in the Suns, it also has its flaws, just like the Jokic argument does. And if you think this is just an NBA problem, it's actually not. It also happens very often in the NFL, especially with last year's MVP race. Now, obviously, if you follow football, you know that Aaron Rodgers won the MVP, throwing for 4,300 yards, completing 70% of his passes, and he also threw for 48 touchdowns to just 5 interceptions. Now, obviously, those are MVP numbers. I'm not saying he doesn't deserve the MVP. That being said though, when you look at a guy like Derrick Henry who rushed for over 2,000 yards, something that only 7 other players have done before him, that's historic. So where do we draw that line of, yes, Aaron Rodgers had incredible numbers, but Derrick Henry had also incredible numbers, and you have to look at the rarity of it. It doesn't happen every year. I was someone who thought that Derrick Henry should have won it. Now again, Aaron Rodgers does deserve the MVP. He's just as deserving. But where do we draw that line of what is valuable and what isn't? I just don't know where that lies. And you see, my problem with the MVP award isn't that it's going to one player or another. Obviously, there's always going to be times where we might think that one guy should have won over the other. That's what sports is, it just happens. My problem is that there's no consistent definition of value when it comes to voting on MVPs. Right now, as I've shown you, there's a stats argument, there's a team success argument, there's a player success with rarity argument for like Derrick Henry, and it's just like, I don't know where we're supposed to choose what value is. So my solution to this, and let me know what you guys think about this down in the comments, is that we rename the award. We don't get rid of it, but we just rename it. But first, we do have to distinguish what is the definition of value, or how are we going to, pick the MVP? Is it going to be stats? Because if it's going to be stats, maybe name it something like the best statistical season award. If it's going to be based off something like CB3's situation where it's based off team success, maybe you say, best impact or biggest impact on a team. I don't know of one that would fit really Derrick Henry's situation, but I just feel like we have to rename it. But first and foremost, we have to understand why we're picking a guy to win the award. That's why I love when it's like offensive player of the year, defensive player of the year, because for MVPs, defense doesn't really ever get you an MVP. But you still have that chance to win Defensive Player of the Year. It's much more boiled down into a certain way that it's picked, and that's something that I really enjoy. Now obviously these solutions also still have their own problems, such as how do we determine what's the best statistical season, or how do we determine, what is team success if guys have very similar impacts. I don't know how we distinguish that, but I think this is a much better solution than what we currently have with the MVP award. So let me know what you guys think of that down in the comment section below, or if there's a better way to do this I'm not even thinking of. I'd love to hear your thoughts, because I've thought about this for several years now, and this past year with the NFL and NBA, it's just has been on my mind for quite some time. So let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. But as always, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And I'll see you guys in the next video.